Kiah, we ready to go?
All right.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks everyone for coming out here today for this tour. After the 4 long years that we put in doing paperwork, running budgets, and figuring out how we make this project a reality, now we actually have something to look at and tour that we'll get to bring up for sale. These first units here along Scott Street, those will be completed in late 2025, early 2026, and we'll bringing those on the market for sale. Everything that's under construction right now is all for home ownership. It's all for sale. It's part of the strategic structure that we created with the city of Missoula to bring this project together. A portion of them will be sold at market rate that will help bring additional funds into the project to facilitate in the creation of the community land trust home ownership units. Before we take off, is there any questions that anybody has from the media or within the group as well? All right, we'll go ahead and go for a walking tour and tour a couple of these different unit styles up front here, and we'll meet on the third. We'll walk through the two-story one here on the end first, and then we'll head over into the middle units and head up to the third story and talk about the project a little bit more, and the mayor has some items to talk about as well. Right. Thank you for coming today.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Very involved. So one of the components with this and in the development of the architectural process was how do we bring infill urban density in a livable situation, and that's been a key component that we've tried to drive from the beginning. With the shared wall townhome concept, and what that brings is it allows us to reach a higher level of urban density, which is higher utilization of all of the core infrastructure, but it also creates livable spaces for the community that's around. And one component that also is part of this is also the partnership with the parcel to the across the street from Charlotte as well, is there'll be the common area green space that has a deeded easement access back to this portion of the project as well. And the collaboration between the different projects is something that is highly novel and required a lot of time and energy and work to pull together, but it's the way to create the most livable community and site possible. Within the units, there's a diversity of units. We have 3 and 4 bedroom townhomes. And in that process, I have to give the team at Headwaters Construction an amazing shout out for the work that they've done of managing a construction schedule, progressing this project. We broke ground in October, and part of the process was getting all of the framing materials prefabbed on site. And we used the excess space to do that so that they could drive a highly rapid construction schedule. One of the components as well is just really looking at how do we bring in the efficiencies of both, building quality and building in livable spaces, and you'll see that in the floor plans that have been designed. So this one is a 3-bedroom. Okay. The 4 bedrooms there's 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom 3-story townhomes as well. And so there's a combination depending on what individuals are looking for in their home and how much open space versus bedrooms that they want out of their unit. Do you have any comments while we're in this section?
Well, I mean, I guess I would say, several of you were here when we did the groundbreaking last March. So we're basically 1 year after breaking ground, which is really exciting. We are thrilled. Thank you for coordinating this tour for us. We keep getting a lot of questions from folks saying, what's popping up over there? So great job to the Headwaters team and all of your subs and crew for working as efficiently and quickly as you can. We are thrilled to have this come out of the ground. It's, as you said, Kiah, this has been many years in the making, and this is where the city, partnering with our private partners, our financing partners, our nonprofit partners, to make this kind of project a reality, and where we can both have conventional market homes as well as affordable homes, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but we are able to, the city through its investments here, we're able to guarantee for the community 89 affordable homes for purchase for our workforce here in Missoula. We're doing that through a community land trust. The community land trust will be managed here by the North Missoula Community Development Corporation. We've got members of the team here today. And what that means for us as a community is that those homes will be affordable into perpetuity, because they will be maintained affordable because, again, that land is held in trust, and the homeowner only purchases then the home, the improvements above that land. The nice thing about this project is that we're doing it to such scale that we're actually contributing 89 homes, which is the largest community land trust in the city of Missoula at any one time. and what we believe to be the largest community land trust involved project in the state of Montana. So
and just a slight correction, Ms. Mayor.
Yeah. Oh.
We have 89 total homes.
Yes.
Half of those homes are being used to subsidize the other half.
Yes, sorry. Thank you for that correction. I appreciate that. Yes, half of those are market rate in a community land trust model, which again is still something that we'll see some different price points.
Yes.
And that's what we're very interested to see as well, because community land trust homes, often there's a big gap that gets up to the regular market rate homes, but because those market rate community land trusts also basically are part of the CLT, the Community Land Trust, we're eager to see how there might be some stepped up pricing that's actually involved in the market, so we'll see. So this is exciting for us, and excited to see the views, and we'll hopefully have an opportunity to continue to answer some more questions. I will say that this is a great example of our larger strategy that we have at the city in terms of our strategic land purchases and ways in which we are utilizing land purchases like this to be able to turn them into community amenities like a mixed-use property. So we'll have both residential, commercial, and park space here. As many people here know, this was an EPA Superfund site. This property is an old industrial site, and at one time it was not suitable for residential use. Because of the work that this neighborhood did, and because of the partnership with local partners like the city and others, we've been able to turn this space, which was basically an underutilized old industrial site, into now what's going to be a thriving part of this neighborhood. And so that effort, but for local government and efforts like this neighborhood, would still be an old industrial site, underutilized and not turned into what it's going to be, which is going to be a thriving neighborhood for families and folks living here. So we're thrilled to see this happen, and super grateful for our partners with Ravara Development and First Security Bank and North Missoula Community Development Corporation and others. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks there. Happy to share a few more.
Yeah, quick question. This unit, would this potentially be one of those income restricted or deed restricted units?
The first row of townhomes that we're bringing to market, these will be at what we're classifying as market rate, to provide that additional subsidy into the units and offset the extra income from that will help offset future interest rate costs across the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are these the homes specifically that will be ready or done with construction at the end of 2025?
We'll put some drywall on, but yes. So late 2025, we'll put some panel walls as well. Yeah, it'll be late 2025, early 2026 that these will be available for purchase.
New modern spaces like this. It's good to see you again. I thought that was in order to partner with the private sector to do this work. And so the city of Missoula purchased this land many years ago using investment through our tax increment financing program, so through the Missoula Redevelopment Agency. And that gave us some time to be able to do this larger plan and work together, as we were talking about downstairs. Now, when we purchased this land at the time, we were only able to utilize that type of financing or that type of investment for horizontal infrastructure. So we could, build the streets, and we could build, sidewalks and curb, and we could put in water lines, and we could put in sewer mains. And that's all really important work, and build parks. We continue to do that. But in the 2023 legislature, they enabled agencies like the Missoula Redevelopment Agency, the city of Missoula, to take some of that money and actually put that into vertical construction. So we did that here, and this is the first project that we've done in the city, correct, that we've used that financing tool. And we continue to think about how we can best utilize our resources, and while we feel so fortunate to have them, we realize how precious they are. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing those as strategically as we can. So we're learning a lot of lessons from this, and then thinking about how is it that we can use these resources in our other owned parcels. Again, we have this strategic land purchase concept at the city where we're trying to make the best we can in terms of catalyzing projects like this and making sure that we're creating opportunities, not only where there's more of a deed restricted type of affordable purchase, but also just partnering with the private sector and making this type of thing work more frequently. Just had a great conversation with folks like Headwaters who, as we continue to do this kind of work in the city of Missoula, we will be able to continue to grow our capacity as not only the municipality but also our private sector partners, and that's really important. I mean, you heard Kiah mention the firewalls and things of this nature. We've been building multifamily, of course, in the city of Missoula for many decades, but in terms of multifamily shared wall purchase product, we have that, of course, in Missoula, but we'll be seeing more and more of that, right? Where the price points are in Missoula, this is really a place where people can afford to start to buy a home and build equity. And so the contractors that do this work, we will see a greater amount of capacity and skill in the space so we can start to create more of these opportunities. And so that's something that at the city, the longer arc here, the big vision is that we are continuing to help facilitate the larger capacity building across the whole community. And so this is a really good physical example of where we are with that.
I will say on the back of that, when we started this project and with the increase in construction costs as we went from 2020 into 2021 and 22, the tool that really brought that to fruition in the 2023 House bill that was passed that allowed TIF funding to go into the vertical construction for workforce housing was a crucial component into making this possible. And as we worked through this process with the city, every challenge that we found, we sat down and the problems weren't solved overnight. Sometimes they were solved over months. But as you can see here, we got it to a place where it came to fruition. And that took working with our bank, with First Security Bank. Then also Glacier Bancorp came in and worked with NeighborWorks Montana to help provide funding to the capital stack, along with the Missoula Redevelopment Agency through TIF, and the City of Missoula through funds that were available to support this project as well. And in this, they don't happen overnight, they don't happen easy, but when you have a great team that can continue to solve problems together, we can make something like this possible. Any questions?
The question, does the sale of this property or portions of the property, will that go back to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund? Is that something that was planned or is still planned?
For this particular project, they'll stay within the property. So this is an investment that will stay here. And the security, I would say, that taxpayers have is that it's on a community land trust. That mechanism basically I think about it like affordable homes infrastructure in a lot of ways. And so because it's owned by that community land trust, there is a deed restriction that we have. So the city and the taxpayers always have a security in this, but that money won't circulate back out because it will stay basically as capital in the project and keep those homes affordable and attainable into the future. So for more than just one generation. That's really one of the most powerful elements of this kind of a model where we have a community land trust or we have shared equity. It's not on the, dare I say, consumer or homeowner level. It stays on the project itself, and therefore it stays available for the next generation of homeowners as well.
Behind us, we have clearly a lot of dirt, construction material, and everything else. What is north of Charlotte here will also be phase 2 of this project. In order to construct phase 2, we do have to get sell-through on these units. We don't have to get through all of them, but we do have to prove the market. We have to prove that it's there, and we have to get through the product. And as soon as we get through that process, we'll break ground on phase 2. And then also to the south of Charlotte here is where the Market Hall, that's the project that we're also working on now as well. We do have priority. It's the same team, same construction, architecture crew. Priority is focused on the community land trust component, but we're also bringing the Market Hall is the next portion of this project forward, and that'll face along Scott Street. And we're working with a local grocery operator to bring neighborhood grocery. We're talking to different commercial tenants as well who might be interested in occupying the space. But to the extent that we can get the word out of people who are interested in commercial space on Scott Street, we'd love to talk to anybody about that. The third component of the project as well is we're looking at 225 units. We're evaluating if that makes more sense to bring those in as condos with home ownership, or if it makes more sense to bring those on as apartments. That decision hasn't been made yet, but we do, based on this project and based on the results of phase 1, well, that one is not a community land trust project. It's a traditional market rate development. We do think that the value of home ownership is substantial here, in Missoula, and we have an inclination that that's probably the route that we'll end up going with the project.
Wow, that's an exciting update. All right, that's great.
Yeah. Anything?
No, I mean, I would just say that, so, you know, so there's, obviously, there is a good number of homes and commercial that will be on this site. So we just talked about 89 and then another over 200. So there will be a lot of people here. If you know of anybody with commercial interests, like, that's really what it takes. I think we all envision this. We're talking about, right, we're in the heart of this conversation in the city of Missoula. We've updated our land use plan, we're updating our zoning code. And a lot of us, you know, dream about, I want to have that coffee shop in my neighborhood. But in order for that coffee shop to be financially viable, there needs to be people in that neighborhood that are willing to go to it. And so this does create that kind of an opportunity, because there's so many people here that will say, I'm just going to walk down to whatever that service is. It might not necessarily just be a coffee shop. It might be some other, you know, neighborhood scale service, right? We might see people that are able to provide tailoring or able to provide salon services, whatever that looks like in this space. And so it's exciting to see this, because this is really going to be out of the ground before, well, as you know, our new updated zoning code will be live this summer, and but it'll take some time for those projects to respond to that and then build. But this one will be out of the ground by then, so it's going to be a really good test.
And some other examples of different commercial tenants that we've been looking at as well. A dentist office. It's really not constrained to strictly services. While we want to bring services in here that help provide, you know, local community benefit, also if you don't have to drive to a dentist and you can come into your neighborhood and go there, or barbers, salons, these other, it's pretty wide open on that front. And so I think it's more creativity is better in that sense, and how we bring a quality, you know, commercial project along Scott Street here together. Well, thank you everyone for the tour. If there's no further questions, this concludes.
Yeah, and just to review that update, so that the 220 over here, you're saying some of them could be homes for purchase.
We're evaluating if doing them as condos as opposed to rentals makes sense, or a blended model within that structure. And that's driven by really where the market's at. And at the end of the day, everything comes down, as a developer, everything comes down to how do you keep your bank happy? And you know, if the market demand is there for condos, that's where it makes sense to bring a project.
And then this building over here is still part of phase one. It's not phase
Correct. So right behind us here is really the line for phase one and phase two. Part of phase one will include this row of 8 townhomes, row of 9 townhomes, and between 2 buildings, 27 condos. All right.
What's the value of phase one?
The value, from a construction perspective, it's just shy of a $16 million contract. There is, through the work with the city, there's subsidy that brings down those sale prices, as well as the offset funds from, you know, the sale of the townhomes as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. We're also available if you have follow-up questions or want other information. Happy to provide you my contact info. And
Yeah, how do people get on the list? What happens? Like, how do folks get connected?
So if you're interested in a below market rate, you can contact the North Missoula CDC, and they've got a portion on their website.
Great.
For us, we have Ravara.com, which I think has an entry into it. If not, contact anybody on the Good Works team, and we'd be delighted to add you to the list and do
Excellent.
pre-marketing once we have everything put together.
Excellent. That's great.
yeah.
Thanks so much, Kai.
All right.
Congratulations,
Thanks, guys.
everybody.
Thank you.